Hi, and welcome back to neurobiology in 5 minutes or less. Um, we're going to be talking about the labeled line model today, and this is really important for understanding taste and why we don't get all of these tastes confused. If you remember when we first started talking about taste, we talked about the three different types of papillae. So we have the fungiform, the circumvolente, and then the foliate. And these three types of just not taste buds, but the different types of papillae have these little pink dots, which are our taste buds. The taste buds aren't necessarily the actual like neurons or anything, but rather they lead to this complex over here. And this complex is a whole thing. So at the top over here, we have the pore. And so the pore is where these tastes, these things are going through. And so that's where like all of our ions are going to go through, maybe the different molecules go through. And then at the top here, if you see, this is where all of those receptors that we just talked about are going to be. So this blue one over here, this one might be my salt. And this green one over here, this one might be my bitter. And this pink one could be my sweet. I don't know. This orange might be my sour. And then this blue one, which oh my goodness, I guess I'll have to make it. Sorry. This blue one is going to be my umami. So in looking at this, the way that this all works is that depending on which receptor is activated, right? So in this case, this is showing sweet being activated. So when my sweet is activated, from then on, the sweet has its own separate path that is completely unique and is going to take axons and different connections all the way up to the brain. So if this is my brain over here, right over here, this is my brain. And as we go across, like each one of these is going to have its own separate path to the brain. None of these at any point are going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to share this part of this receptor with you. They're all going to have different paths. And even though they're all going to end up in the same place, because we're not having any of that interaction coming through, that's going to totally help our brain differentiate between these different tastes, because if we're not having any of this like confusion, right? Our brain doesn't really have anything to get confused. So the idea behind the labeled lines model is that everything is completely separate in and of itself. There is nothing here that says, hey, I'm going to be starting with you, mommy, and then somehow switching over, and then I'm going to like branch off and maybe like project onto the same receptor that a sweet one does, right? That part of this does not exist at all. So when we're looking at this, the reason why this is so helpful is because like it totally describes it. Once we get the right receptor activated, our brain can understand that taste. And that is why our sense of taste is as divided as it is. And that is why when you're tasting something that is salty and sweet, you can taste it as salty and sweet and not as some weird mixed combo of, oh, I taste salty, but somebody else tastes sweet. Or, so that's why the labeled line model works, is because everything has its own separate path to the brain. And this is what we use for specifically taste, not for every sense, but for taste, this is in fact the case. So I hope you enjoyed learning about taste, and hopefully we're going to get to talk about some other topics.